Billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I greet you, my brothers and sisters, with the noble and universal greeting of peace, the greeting that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal creator, Almighty Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukr to Allah, we are here and we have the opportunity on this noble day, this Friday, to actually remind ourselves. The Quran says, keep reminding the believers, for reminding benefits the believers. And so I am here reminding myself, as I do every day, and reminding you, and as I'm reminded by you every day in our community, of what our purpose is here. What is our purpose? Am I on track? This is a question I ask myself every day. Am I on track? Am I on the straight path? The Quran speaks of the straight path, and that we are to be those people who are on the straight path, and as you live on the straight path, you will experience God's blessings in this world through your death and beyond the straight path. The straight path. So am I on track? Am I on the straight path? The path that there is our Creator Almighty Allah's blessings. Am I living with greater faith every day as a believer? Am I living with a higher level of humanity? Living with honorable conduct? Am I receiving Allah's good, a life tayyibun in this world through my death and beyond? Because that's what the Quran says. The Quran says that those who have faith and conduct themselves honorably, they respect themselves, their bodies, their lives, the society, other people in their lives. They are the people, whether they're male or female, there is for them a life tayyibun and a blissful return. The Quran says if you have faith in your heart, and if you conduct yourself as an honorable adult, iman and amal, whether you're a man or you're a female, male or female, man or woman, there is for you in this world a life tayyibun, a natural experience of life. That's what I really want. A natural experience of life in this world and a blissful return. So the work that I'm doing on me and with others is really supporting us who want to live as believers, mu'min, people who want to live. Don't just say that you are a believer, for faith has not entered into your hearts, the Quran says. Just rather say you are submissive in religion than say you're a believer. But only if faith has entered into your heart, then you can say you're a believer. So my purpose every day is to expand the faith that is in my heart. If I'm doing that every day, I'm winning. And the Quran tells us it's not only about iman, it's about amal. It's how we conduct ourselves. Are we living more consciously? Are we playing more self-beneficial role in our lives? Allah has given us the ability to become aware of Him and draw closer to Him, to submit, and to experience Allah consciousness. He has given us that ability as human beings. Human beings have the opportunity and the ability to draw closer. Saying to you, Allah has given us the opportunity as human beings to become aware of Him. And in the awareness of Allah, hearts experience security. We can experience being aware of our Creator. And that's called spiritual development. That when we become aware of our Creator, we experience assurance, and we're no longer living as insecure people. And we have the opportunity to also live our lives with the ability that our Creator has given to us. Not only the ability to draw closer to Him, Allah is not a male or female, but we have an ability to draw closer to our Creator. And we have been given the ability not only to respond to Allah's relating to us, But Allah has given us the opportunity to relate to ourselves, our bodies, our lives. We can play a beneficial role with ourselves, our bodies, our lives. We don't have to live self-defeating, life-destructive, body-disregarding. We can live as honorable human beings. We can live as honorable human beings. We can, with Iman and Amal, and we can, as people close to God, experiencing security with Almighty Allah, assurance in our heart, and as people who are relating to ourselves, our bodies, our lives in a way that Allah gave us the opportunity to care for us, care for our body and care for our lives, we can then relate to people, things and experiences in the world. We can be with other people. And we can receive Allah's good in this world and the world beyond. The potentials that exist for us to live at the highest levels of humanity, the possibilities for us to experience at the greatest levels of humanity is available to us. So, this is Iman, Amal, and a life tayyibun. I often say Iman, Amal, Halal, Tayyib. Halal is that which is natural, and Tayyib, which is wholesome. And fit dunya wa fil akhirah, in this world through our death and beyond. This is what Islam is all about, real Islam, not Islamism. So we have this opportunity, and I choose to live my life with Iman and Amal, live halal and tayyib, and to choose Allah's good in this world through my death and beyond. I'm not just saying it like I was taught as a child to say it. I'm really choosing that, and this means I'm on track. Another surah of the Quran, also a short one, it says by the end of the day, by the end of time, what it all amounts to is, did a person live with faith and good conduct? وَالْأَسْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So it says by the end of the day, human beings are in a state of loss, except those who have faith. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنوا Amin. Those who are secured through their faith. And their good deeds, living in a way that is honorable, respect for you, your body, your life, other people, respect for life, respect for other people's life, supporting life progress, guiding people to a higher level. Because it continues to say that those who inspire others to truth, and inspire others to patient perseverance. So this is what this is all about. My work of sharing with the people out there, it's inviting you to a natural way. A way of living as a humane being. Each one of us, has a potential to experience being secure, experience being a believer. Not just one who is submitted in religion, but to experience actually being a believer. Each one of us. And each one of us not only has that potential to have a relationship with our Creator, and each one of us has that potential to live in a self-respecting way, life-respecting way, body-respecting way, to play a positive role in our lives. And being these people who are connected with our Creator, have a relationship with our Creator, have a relationship with us and our bodies, our lives, we show up as empowered adults. And then we can be with other people from this level of spiritual security, from this level of conducting ourselves honorably, and we can relate to people with respect, and for them, for their lives, for their belongings, and they can respect to us, our lives, our belongings. And if you choose that, you can have natural, good relations, wholesome life in this world, and a blissful return. See, this is what it's all about. So I ask myself every day, am I on track? Am I aware that Satan is an enemy avowed? Am I aware that Satan doesn't want me to draw closer to God and experience myself as a believer? Satan doesn't want me to bring to Allah a purified heart. Satan wants me to live in existential abandonment. Satan wants me to live in self-abandonment. Satan doesn't want me to become aware of my Creator and draw closer to my Creator and feel secure with my Creator. Satan wants me to remain unaware of my Creator. Satan doesn't want me to relate to me, my body and my life in a respectful way. He wants me to disrespect myself, disrespect my body, disrespect my life, destroy myself, with vice and all that sort of thing. Destroy my body, destroy my life. Satan doesn't want me to be shakuran, he wants me to be kafuran. Kufar is to conceal and kafuran is to be ungrateful, not value. Satan doesn't want me to value my Creator as absolutely valuable and have that relationship first with my Creator, a relationship of submission. Satan doesn't want that. Satan wants me to remain in this world in a trance that Adam and Eve, our foreparents, were put into. Satan wants us to remain insecure. Satan threatens us with insecurity and creates and causes us to behave in ways unseemly. That's where we all are. The Quran is telling us Satan threatens us. We have to live in awareness that Allah extends to us His mercy. Allah extends to us His compassion. And Allah extends to us His bounties. Get what I mean? So, most people are unaware that while we are here, there is work for us to do. And that work is spiritual development. Most people are unaware that the Quran says that the most important thing is to bring to Allah a purified heart. Not your wealth, not your children, not your business, not your family. It's bringing to Allah a purified heart. And the Quran speaks of those who return to Allah, like turn back. After Adam and Eve, the children of Adam and Eve were turned away. We lived in a state of insecurity, and we still do. The Quran says when guidance comes to the children of Adam and Eve, and those who receive the guidance will no longer be insecure. They will no longer have a diseased heart. They will no longer live with that disease in their heart expanding, and that disease, and they are astray, and they live more and more astray. So we can live our lives unaware that we are unaware of our Creator. Or we can become aware that we are unaware of our Creator. Everybody, including the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, upon them both, they had to submit. They had to submit. Every human being has to turn again, remember. The Quran says if you remember your Creator will remember you. I call it presencing. If you recognize the presence, the unique presence of Allah, and if you presence that presence, you will experience that presence presencing you. If you remember Allah, you'll recognize Allah remembering you. If you are aware of Allah, you'll be aware that Allah is aware of you. You understand? So, most people are not aware of Allah, our universal Creator. Most people are not secure. Most people remain insecure. They still worship Satan. All of us are insecure, worshipping Satan. Satan is the enemy avowed, the Quran says. And only those who submit and are close to Allah and devout, a devotee, a devout, in the worship of Allah, only those will be protected from Satan. If you live without the awareness of Allah and drawing closer to Allah, you won't have the refuge that is Allah. The Quran says over those who are devout in the worship of Allah, Satan has no authority. So, the more we become aware of our Creator, actually become aware. Now this is what this whole teaching is about. The believer's refuge training. This is a training. This is an education in claiming the refuge with Allah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Because that's what the Quran is telling us. That while you are here, we are in a fallen state, we are in a lost state, we are in an unsubmitted state because of Satan and Adam and Eve. And we can continue to be in an unsubmitted state, a phantom way of living. A way of living in denial of Allah, not really a way of Allah. You can continue like that. But if you do, your heart is diseased, you're insecure, you feel threatened, you feel vulnerable, you feel fearful. The Quran says Satan threatens you with insecurity and causes you to behave in ways unseemly. It is Allah who extends His mercy to you, His forgiveness, and extends to you of His prosperity, good for you, even though we have been lost and keeping ourselves, sinning, hurting ourselves. We have Allah. Should we become aware of Allah and have a relationship of submission with Allah, should we focus on bringing to Allah a purified heart, should we undertake the path of peace, the path of the straight path, if we undertake that path, you can have Allah protect you from your negativity and the effects of your negativity. You can have Allah progress you. You can have Allah prosper you. So the stakes are high here. You get what I mean? If you read the Quran, it tells us that the home of the hereafter is the final abode. And we are living in this world, and we will be assessed who are those people while they are here who are aware of the caution that has been given to humanity. Who are the people while we are here on this planet are inclining to truth? Who are those people who are awakening from the phantom, satanic, unsubmitted self and unsubmitted living? Who are the people who are going to submit and experience that connection with Allah, Allah awareness? That when you remember Allah, your heart feels assured. That those who remember Allah, they have felicity, they have success, they have happiness, they have prosperity. That when you remember Allah, Allah remembers you. That if you forget Allah, if you fail to remember Allah, if you live without having submitted, being guided, then yours will be a depressed life, a life of insecurity. There's no security. So this is what we are talking about here. For those of you who say, I'm so grateful as a human being, Allah created me with the potential to live as a believer, secure in my heart, faith in my heart. And as a believer, to live with good conduct, to live as a person with self-respect, body respect, life respect. And that I can respect other people. I can have compassion and mercy on other people. I can be generous and giving and granting to other people. I can be forgiving to other people. This is what we as a human being have the capacity to experience, the essence of Allah. Allah's essences He gave us. We can live demonstrating godliness as a human being. You can't experience godliness if you are in a threatened, vulnerable state. And you'll remain in a threatened, vulnerable state depending on yourself, depending on other people, depending on the things of this world. But not really having that relationship with Allah, our universal creator, and experiencing Allah is sufficient for you, that you are depending on Allah. Basically, if you remain in a state of ignorance, superstition, and arrogance, entitlement, it doesn't end well. These are the things you can discern a person who has not submitted, a person who is not a believer, that they are ignorant, they are superstitious, they are arrogant, they feel entitled, they're not humble, they're unaware of truth, they're not expressing themselves as with peace, they're not aware and experiencing Allah's relating to them, and so they're not feeling a secured vulnerability. Human beings can either be in a threatened, vulnerable state as a non-believer, or when guidance comes to us, and we become aware that we are currently unaware, and we choose to support having awareness of our Creator, as we submit drawing closer to our Creator, we go beyond a threatened vulnerability into an assured or a secured vulnerability, that we have Allah, and Allah is enough for us. Allah is sufficient for us. The more we draw closer to Allah, the more He forgives us, the more He transforms us. There's plenty of verses of the Quran that say that as you draw closer to Allah, there's tranquility in your heart. And Allah expands that tranquility. And your faith is expanded. And Allah removes from you the bad behaviors. I can tell you that personally. When you feel threatened and vulnerable, and you behave poorly to yourself, to your body, to others, to life in life, to Allah, that's because you are worshipping Satan. All of us worship Satan. Even people who don't know about Satan are worshipping Satan. How can I be worshipping Satan if I don't know Satan, if I don't even believe in Satan? Well, all of us are in a state of insecurity and influenced by that insecurity. Satan threatens you with insecurity and causes you to behave in ways unseemly. But Allah extends to His mercy, and Allah extends to you of His prosperity. You see? So until a person really chooses to develop themselves spiritually, they will remain spiritually undeveloped. All of us are spiritually undeveloped until guidance comes to us. And those of us who receive that guidance, we will no longer remain in a spiritual undevelopment state. We will now work on and experience spiritual development. I say to people who come to my classes, it's one of two things. Three things. Either you're listening to me, and you're becoming aware of your disconnection that you are experiencing, your failure to respond to Allah's relating to me. Either you're becoming aware of that. And if you're becoming aware of that, you can address that. And if you do address that, and you actually choose to, in the way that I teach and share with people, how to submit, how I was guided to submit, what is Tawheed, and experience submission. If you recognize I'm aware that I'm unaware, it's a basic awareness. I recognize I'm insecure. I recognize I'm not close to my Creator. I can see from how I feel, my diseased heart. I can see from how I live, my behaviors with my Creator, with myself, with other people. I can see I am lost. I can see that. There's no kindness in my heart. There's no peace in my heart. There's no relating to people. There's no appreciation. There's no valuing of Allah and valuing of what... I'm not feeling good. I'm not experiencing that ease. Allah says in more than one place in the Quran, He wants ease for us. Well, are you experiencing ease? Are you experiencing being pleased? Are you experiencing the peace? This is a path of peace, a universal path of peace. Are you experiencing it? And first you'll become aware, no, I'm not. I thought it was normal. You know what I mean? No. It was normal for human beings that remain underdeveloped, spiritually underdeveloped. You get what I mean? And so, if you become aware that I am not actually aware of my Creator, my heart is diseased, I feel worry, I feel fear, I feel stress, I feel strained, I'm turning to people to take care of me, they're not loving me enough, my first relationship is with a man or a woman or a boss or with money or something, I'm controlled by that person or that thing. If I have enough money, if I have enough love from that person, if somebody gives me something, if I have something, I'll be okay. If you're living like that, if you live in this world in an attached state to the world, to somebody or something, you project power onto somebody or something, you think it has power, authority, it's an association of partners with Allah, it's shirk. That's how most insecure people live. turning to somebody in the world, turning to something in the world, thinking that something or somebody is relevant or significant or special or important. Then there are many people who say to others, turn to me. I am relevant, significant. I will help you. You don't worry. Don't go to Allah. Come to me. I will benefit you. I will benefit you. We want to help the whole world. We say, no, we got to help them. We got to look after everybody else. They need us. You know what I mean? There's that kind of perverted relationship. That when you are insecure and spiritually underdeveloped, you are in a trance, a satanic trance. You are focused on something or somebody in the world. And you're trying to get them to come to you, or trying to get them to give you something, or you're trying to get something from them or in the world. Or you're focused on somebody and you're trying to get them to follow you, to worship you, to turn to you, to put their trust in you. You're trying to save the world and make them feel better. I was guilty of that one. No longer am I in that kind of shirk anymore. I understand that I'm nobody. Allah alone is the guide. Who am I to tell people what's right and what's wrong? Who am I to tell people how they should live or what they should choose? It's for me to give the believers a reminder. That's as far as it goes. You get what I mean? And then there are people who say we focus on others, we must never need them. We must never need other people, so as long as we got our money and we got our work and we're working hard, we got our job, we're okay. There are people who depend on other people. There are people who want to be depended on by others. There are people who are terrified of being dependent on others and they feel they should depend on themselves. This is the hallmark of somebody who is not humble before their Creator, somebody who has not submitted. And we can become aware. We can become aware. The first thing is to become aware. Ashraf is describing me because he was there too. And he's worked for 25 years with people, seeing this in other people. You with me? That the first awareness is the recognition that I am lost in a trance. I am more about this world and what's happening in this world than I am more about Allah and my answering to Allah. See, people are not interested really in that. Did they have faith in their heart? Did they develop themselves spiritually? Did they develop themselves psychologically? Did they develop themselves as a person? The Prophet ﷺ was the most developed person as a human being. That's the sunnah. Being peaceful, being kind, being considerate. He was the world's greatest humanitarian. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The world's greatest leader. His behavior, his state of beingness towards people. You get what I mean? That's what it's about. It's about Allah, but people who are in a cult that is called Islamism, they're not interested in Allah. They're more interested in religion. And they're not interested in the Prophet. They're more interested in appearing like the Prophet. Have a beard. But they don't want to actually experience security, that spiritual development with Allah, and they don't want to aspire to a psychological development, being like the Prophet, who is the most developed, psychologically humane person in the world that has ever been and will ever be. They don't want to be like that. That's why I call it a cult of Islamism. It's a very sad thing. I've been talking about it. I've been talking about this cult of Islamism, telling you that this is all about India, and how in India, as Hindus, before the Arabs came through, we had a guru. And after the Arabs came, we took the spiritual teaching and put it into the guru system. That even today, we have gurus. The Maulana, sadly, a lot of the time, unless they're not, has become that guru that people turn to. The Quran, the Prophet, Islam guides us to turn to Allah. But when Islam came to India, the Indian Hinduism ways have perpetuated, and very sadly, the guru system continues. The Quran is a book of guidance to humanity, the empowerment of humanity. Islam is about the empowerment of humanity. In the guru system, it's only about religious expertise. Come to me, I'll tell you what to read. I'll tell you what to read, when to read it, how many times to read it. This is right, this is wrong. This is guru systems. Islam is not a guru system. Islam is a book for every human being. The Quran is a book for every human being to be aware of what their purpose is here, and that Satan is an enemy, and that we are to claim refuge with Allah, and that the spiritual development that is required, that every human being is equal. Every human being is equal. And that the difference between human beings is who is more spiritually enlightened, who's more spiritually developed, who's closer to Allah, who is submitted to Allah. Are you a real believer? That's the whole thing about the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition from its roots of Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's got perverted along the way, but it's all about submission to Allah, having a relationship with Allah, being humble, waking up from the satanic trance. So the guru system that we are all part of, especially in this country, in the Indo-Pak kind of mentality, Indo-Pakistan kind of mentality, is not one of empowering the person for their purpose. Why are you here? What does it actually mean to submit? What is Tawheed? What is Iman? What is Amal? What is living in this world with life tayyibun? The guru system is not interested in human beings flourishing as the potentials that we have and the possibilities. They're interested in, come to us. We'll tell you about religion and what's right and what's wrong. Islam is a way of being. It's not a religion. Islam is a way of peace. Islam is about assurance, reassurance, insurance. Islam is about feeling good naturally, going beyond a threatened vulnerability with Allah, feeling assured, having Allah. Islam, true Islam, has been taught by Ibrahim alayhi salam, or Moses, or Jesus, or the Prophet Muhammad. I say true Islam, people are surprised that it goes beyond, because they said shalom. They said salam. Is shalom, is shalom. There's been one way for humanity and guiding humanity back to the one way. But the guru system is not interested in that. It's not interested in the way of peace, teaching the people to draw closer to Allah, experiencing security with Allah, teaching the people to spiritually develop, getting close to Allah. They're not interested in that. They have become the authorities. I'm not against them. I'm just bringing this into awareness at the risk of people, pointing a finger of me. I don't give a damn. The Quran says there will be people who love Allah, who Allah loves, who will emerge. And they will not be afraid of the hypocrites. And they will stand firm and assert truth. See, I'd like to believe that I'm one of them. When I'm confronting the lies, the sickness that is in society, I'm doing it for the poor people who want to get close to God but get involved in the system and become cultist. I've seen the effects of grown men being in these cults and living in an age-regressed state. A disempowered child. It's a very sad thing, cultism. Islamism is a cult. It's very sad. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying there are people who are thinking they're getting closer to God. They're getting more into the guru worship system. They're not drawing closer to God. This is part of the sickness. In Islamic teachings it is said there'll come a time where people in your own mosque will lead you astray. The time has come. It's been here for a while. They said the time of the Dajjal, when the Antichrist emerges, Muslims won't be able to see kufr. They won't be able to see kufr on the Dajjal's head. They won't be able to see what is a denial of Allah. They won't be able to see it. It has been told to us that Imam Mahdi the first battle he'll fight is against so-called Muslims. Him, being a Muslim, will fight battles against so-called Muslims. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said to us, there'll be 70 some odd sectarians, cults, but only one will be on the right track. So people think, is it our beliefs, is their beliefs, whose beliefs? It is those who submit to Allah. They are only those who submit to Allah and have a relationship with Allah and experience Allah as the authority. Only those who are humble before Allah and feel secure with Allah. Only those Muslims who have a relationship with Allah, who are Allah aware, who experience security with Allah. That's the only authentic, group. I mean, who can argue with this? So, I've been talking to us for the past few weeks about that human beings can live in a state of unawareness, unaware that they are unaware. Or they can become aware that they are unaware. And if you become aware that you're unaware, you can sincerely choose to become aware. And if you do, you will experience drawing closer to Allah through Tawheed, through the oneness, through the onlyness of Allah, through the power of Allah, through humility, through submission. Or you will remain a hypocrite. So I've explained it like this. You can go back to my previous lectures. They're available on YouTube, they're available on Spotify, they're available on Anchor. And you can see that we all fall into one of three categories. And if you become aware, one of these three categories, you can actually do something about it. You can actually realize. So we all are like spiritual caterpillars. And you'll remain in a spiritual caterpillar state until you go through the cocoon and you submit. And you can emerge on the other side as a butterfly. So there are some human beings, most of them live as caterpillars and die as caterpillars, spiritually underdeveloped. And some will hear the calling within them and submit. The Quran says among all people they are believers. Among all people they are believers. There are some who will recognize, I'm not here for this world, there's a hereafter. The world of the hereafter is more pleasurable and delightful. I'm looking forward to it, I must tell you actually. In this world, I'll live for my faith and I'll live for my conduct and I'll live for a natural life. And that's as far as it gets. And that's great. But there's nothing better than that. That's great. But in this world, there's nothing better than that. But the world of the hereafter, that is the world. You see, I don't just say I believe, but I don't. The Quran says there are those people who say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't. They only fool themselves, thinking they fool Allah. In their hearts is a disease. That disease is expanded. They are astray, and Allah leaves them to stray. This is the third category of people I've been describing, hypocrites. Hypocrites is not a bad word. Nor is kafir a bad word or a mushrik a bad word. It's not a bad word. It's not swearing. It's not judgmental. It's descriptive. So the first group of people that are spiritually underdeveloped are people who are unaware of their Creator because they so deeply focused through the body, through this visible world, and they think that they are their bodies, and they think what you see in the visible world is all there is. They don't know the unseen. They don't know the unseen. They deny any kind of power beyond what they see. I know one of my relatives, sadly, that's what he told me. If I don't see it, I can't believe it. I felt sorry for him. There's nothing I can do. I can pray for him. Because the physical body and this physical world is only one part. You are a non-physical being. We are spiritual beings. Peace, love, joy is not in the physical world. When your heart is healed and you feel assured and reassured and secured, that is not in your body, it's not in your mind, it's not in your personality. You can live with that peace within your being of Islam, peace, salam means peace, assurance with God, and that can inform your personality, it can inform your mentality, it can inform your physical world. Anyway, a true believer is one who is aware of who they really are, what they really are, where they really are, what's going on here. One who has received the guidance, a true believer. and is aware of the unseen and has an experience of the unseen, the kufr, the kafir, is just lost in this world. Then you get the mushriks I was telling you about. The mushriks are the people who live thinking that there is a power, but they don't realize that Allah is the only power. And they're not really aware of Allah and experiencing Allah consciousness. The mushriks are those who have an idea about God. It's an idea. They have an idea about God. They have an idea. But it's not God. They are relating to the ideas of God. They can think a man is God, a person is God, money is God, something is God, something has got power in the world. They can turn to somebody or something. They can think a guru is God. They can think that something in the created world is something that is going to help them. They turn to, they call on. But it's ideas in their head. You know what I'm saying? This is somebody who is an idolater, somebody who is associating partners. They're not aware of there is a God and experiencing God consciousness. They're not experiencing our universal creator as our universal creator really is. They have ideas about God. They are not God aware. Second group of people. First one was kafir. Second one was, I'm not swearing word, I'm not judging anybody, I'm just describing. The second one is mushrik. And the third one is munafiq. A person who is a hypocrite. They lie to themselves. So there are people who say, we believe in Allah in the last day. There are people who say, but we are Muslims. We are believers, they say. But they're not believers. They're not really Allah aware. They have ideas about Allah. They might use the word Allah, they might do rituals and this and that, but they're no different from the second group of people. They're no different from the second group of people. But they're using the correct terminology and all that sort of thing. So you'll get people who will seem to read the Quran but not understand a word of it. So they're not gleaning any true guidance from it. There are people who talk about the Prophet, might even have a beard and will say, I'm like the Prophet, but are not in any way close to the beingness or inspired by the beingness of the Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There are people who will talk about Allah, but they have no clue what they're talking about. They might be engaging in rituals, but they are not submitted. They are not really aware and experiencing assurance with Allah. They are living their life in a spiritual caterpillar, underdeveloped. You can be in one of those three categories, and sometimes in different ones in your life at different times. You know what I mean? You can flip through some at the same time too. And when guidance comes to you, and if you value that guidance of Tawheed, actually what really is Tawheed? Submission. That what is Allah? Who is Allah? And you actually choose to experience Allah consciousness. You become spiritually developed. There's Iman. And then there's Yaqeen. And then there's Taqwa. You now live in the world not as that underdeveloped spiritual person. You now are a butterfly. Who you were when you were unsubmitted and who you are when you are submitted is two different people. Get what I mean? The believer in me, that I'm a believer now and I'm on the track. I am living for my death and beyond. I'm receiving Allah's portion in this world, but my focus is on the hereafter. My focus is on Iman in my heart. My focus is Amal. My focus is on living naturally in this world. That is as far as it goes for me in this world. But the home of the hereafter, that is the final abode, and it is much more delightful. Incomparably delightful. I'm looking forward to that. That's what it's about. For those of us who apply ourselves in going beyond the caterpillar identity and go through this transformation of actually becoming a believer in whose hearts there is faith, we will live with Iman, Amal and a life tayyibun. And we will look forward to Allah, as we presence Allah, experiencing being present by Allah. As we praise Allah, we will experience being heard by Allah. Allah hears those who praise Him. As we trust in Allah, we experience Allah responding to us. As we thank Allah for what we have and what we can have, we will actually experience more coming into our life. There's a way to live, when you live as a spiritual butterfly, that you are relating to Allah and you are engaged in spiritual practices. And spiritual practices like worship, remembrance, praising, trusting, thanking, invoking forgiveness, being patient, invoking Allah's good in this world and the world beyond. When you are spiritually developed, that's the only time you will be able to live as a believer, because the Quran says, like, Salah is the Miraj of the Mu'min, not of the Muslim. Not the Quran says, but in Islamic teaching, the Prophet ﷺ has been reported to have said that Salah is the Miraj of the Mu'min. He also said that Dua is the technology, the weapon of the believer. Get what I mean? There's a lot of things in the Quran says about the believer. So when you come to be aware that I'm in one of these three categories, and then you decide to study, you decide to say, what is the guidance? And you accept the guidance, you will no longer be how you lived before. You will no longer be how you lived before. And you will operate with Allah in a way that will transform you, change your life, and you'll receive His good in this world and the world beyond. If you're thankful, Allah will give you more. If people are not getting more, it must be they're not thankful. If you remember Allah, yours will be a life successful. If you're not living life successful, it's because you don't know Allah, and you're not relating as a believer to Allah. Get what I mean? So, let me give you an analogy. Another one. I don't know if this is making sense, because first you've got to become aware, I'm in error. I am unaware. I'm aware that I'm unaware of Allah. You know, I'm aware that I'm unaware of Allah. If you're unaware of Allah, but you say there's no God, we're not interested in anything, that kufr. If you unaware of Allah, and you say, no, I believe in this man is God, that person is God, this is God, something in the created world is God, some idea in my head, some fantasy in my mind, that's a God, then you're not aware of God. And if you're a so-called Muslim, but you're not aware of Allah, how can you worship Allah if you're not aware of Allah? And that's the hypocrite. And a lot of people are scared to admit we are hypocrites. I was scared. I was scared to admit the system is really messed up. Really messed up. That's why I turned to Allah. Allah has guided me. So my point is, I want to give you an analogy. Let's say that in your life, you can live your life becoming aware that you can live with physical health. Let's say. Some people who deny physical health will be kafirs in the area of physical health. They'll say there's no such thing as physical health. You're just living your life. Whatever happens in your health happens in your health. You've got nothing to do with you. Right? The associators might say, no, there is a physical healthy thing. And there is a thing called physical health, but you must drink a lot of coffee, that will make you healthy, and you must not move your body, you must stay, without exercising, that's going to make you healthy. So the denier is like, I don't care about physical health, there's no such thing as physical health, you can't influence your body in any way. The associator will say, no, there is physical health, but the ideas of physical health are in error. It doesn't get them to physical health. The people the hypocrites, they say they believe, but they don't believe. The hypocritical Muslims are those who will be like, no, there is physical health. And you know what? It's got to do with two things. And the first thing is you must eat well. And the second thing is you must move your body. So they got it right. They're getting it right, that a person can experience physical health. And they got it right in that you must move your body and you must eat well. But in their actions, they might just dress in the kit, the sports kit. You get what I mean? Oh, I'm going to the gym. And they'll go to the gym, but they won't really get the benefit of the gym. Or they might just dress in the sports kit. You get it? That's the hypocrite who's telling you, look, because I'm dressed in the sports kit, I am the person who's getting movement and exercise, or because I'm going to the gym, I'm actually benefiting. But they're not. And they might say, no, you got to eat healthy. And they'll say, look what I do. I drink a lot of water. But in the same time, they're drinking sugar, they, not tayyib. The cool drinks. I'm talking about smoking cigarettes, poisoning themselves, eating red meat all the time, not health conscious. But they say, you know what, I'm drinking water. Because water is good for you. Yeah, water is good for you. But what about drinking all the sugar-based fizzy drinks? What about all... So the hypocrites are those people who speak a talk, but they don't live it. They talk about Allah, but they're not aware of Allah. They talk about the Quran, but they're not gleaning the support, They talk about the Prophet, they'll dress a certain way, but they won't really be inspired to live as the Prophet. They wouldn't be the people who know of the power of Islam. Islam is not for guru and guru worship. Islam is for the community, for the society to improve, not for religious expertise. And the guru would be that health coach that is telling them, wear the Nikki, wear the Reebok, wear this costume. And your costume must be like this. How's your costume? Instead of being the coach that says, come on, you came to the gym, let's work. You're drinking the water, and make sure it's water from here and it's not from there, and all that. So that's what's going on here. If anybody wants to see, the Quran says, reflect, ponder, reason. I'm giving you information to ponder that you may actually become aware. You know what? If it is true that I am kuffar or mushrik or munafiq, God guide me, that I choose to live my life with the option of spiritual development, psychological development, living naturally in life. This is why those people who are hypocrites, they are perverted, in their hearts are disease. They're not aware of compassion and love of the Creator. They're not aware, they're not trusting in Allah. They don't have that relationship of assurance and reassurance with Allah. They don't have that assurance. They say they believe, but they don't feel it. They don't experience it. They tell us to live in fear. When you become aware of Allah, you know what happens when you become aware of Allah? You experience assurance. You feel secure. Let me tell you something, as a butterfly, not as a caterpillar. The caterpillar, because they're not aware of Allah, lives feeling threatened and vulnerable. When you become aware of Allah, you feel assured and reassured. You know what A'udhu is. You know what Bismillah is. I begin with the awareness of the wonderful nature of Allah. You know that Allah is Ar-Rahman. The Quran says, call upon Allah, call upon Ar-Rahman, call upon Him by His beautiful names. When you're aware of Allah, your body is producing healthy biochemicals that promote health and well-being. When you're aware of Allah, you have a chemistry with Allah. When you're a friend of Allah, you'll never fear, you'll never worry. And you feel that assurance, that reassurance. It does something for you, your body, for your life. You see, the Quran says, call upon those who is not other than Allah to help you and see what happens. Now the hypocrites are making dua left, right and center and nothing is happening. It's not striking them. They're not calling upon Allah. They're calling about the ideas of Allah. Because I can tell you the fact, with absolute certainty, Allah hears and responds to the believer. As a believer, I'm telling you that I feel assured and reassured. I don't feel threatened and vulnerable. When I turn to Allah and ask Him for His forgiveness, I feel wonderful that I have Allah to turn to, who is forgiving and compassionate. I'm aware of Allah's compassion and mercy. I don't feel threatened. I don't feel vulnerable. I'm aware that Allah is the champion of humanity. He's given us guidance to tell us, look from where you came, look where you are. Look, you don't know. Everybody is lost, including me. And we can all find Allah. And we will awaken. And we'll awaken to what we're doing here. We won't be lost in the satanic trances. Get what I mean? So I'm just saying, those who live insecure, type 1, type 2, type 3 of the caterpillar, the kuffar, the mushrik and the munafiq, they don't know that assurance. The Quran says when the name of Allah is taken, the hearts of those who believe respond. The Quran says respond to Allah. Respond, not respond to the guru. Respond to Allah. Respond means not I'm threatened, I'm scared, I'm running away. Become aware of Allah and be among those who are aware of Allah, who presence Allah, who recognize Allah as the praiseworthy, and who respond with assurance and reassurance that no matter how I am now, I feel peace, that Allah's compassion is upon me, and I want to be a better human being, and I'm assured that Allah has the power to transform me, and He will. That while I am as I am now and I'm sinning, I have Allah to protect me from myself, my negativity. I have Allah's compassion, I have Allah to transform me. Whatever problems I've created in my life, I have Allah to progress me beyond that. Allah's good that I've kept away from me, that I didn't receive, He never withdraws. I feel good now even before I am changed by Allah, even before my life is changed by Allah. I'm certain of the power of Allah, the qudrat of Allah, that my change is guaranteed. I feel it and I see it as a believer. Those who are non-believers, who turn to Allah needy, they're not aware of Allah. That's fear, there's threat. You know what happens when you're afraid in your body? Your immune system collapses. There's no light, there's darkness. You can't think properly. But those of us who are secure, those of us who are aware of Allah and feel assured, our whole immune system is boosted. We feel confident. We have confidence in God. Certain before He does it that He will do it, transform us, change our lives. That He hears and responds. This is real faith that I am inviting you to. Should you be interested in it? Shukr to Allah who has guided me. All praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty. His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.